This is the 4.2a lesson. We're going to look at a couple of problems revisiting slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form was y equals mx plus b, where our slope was m and our y-intercept was b. Let's look at the first example. We're going to start with finding the slope and the y-intercept. Then we're going to write the equation of the line up here, and then we're going to use the table to check that our equation is correct. First thing we'll do is we will look at our graph. We'll mark it up with our slope. We might even also make a note that this is a positive slope problem. So we're going to draw the line above. And we're going to count. We need to figure out our rise and run to figure out what m is. So our rise is 2, and our run is 6, which simplifies to 1/3. Next thing we need to do is we need to identify what our b value is. B is where the line crosses the y-axis, which is there, which also checks out because if the simplified slope is 1/3, then up 1, right 3 should land us right there, and it does. So our y-intercept is at 2 or 0,2. And then we're going to plug everything into y equals mx plus b to get our equation, which is going to be y equals 1/3 x plus 2. Next, we're going to go over to our table, and we're going to write this equation up at the top. So our equation is 1/3 x plus 2. And then they've picked 3 values just randomly that we're going to plug into this equation. And we're going to also double check on the graph that they are checking out. So the first one we're going to plug in is -6. We have 1/3 times -6. We'll put it over 1 because we're going to need to cancel that, plus 2. 3 goes into 3 once and into 6 2 times. So we have 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times -2 is -2 over 1 plus 2. That's this 2 is 0. So our first point is -6, 0. And that is right here, which is on the blue line, so that checks out. Next, we're going to plug in 0 into this equation. So we've got y equals 1/3 times the x value is 0 plus 2. We're always going back to this yellow equation and just replacing x with this number. 1/3 times 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. So this point is 0, 2, which is there, which was the y-intercept. We already marked it. And the last value we're going to plug in is 3. We'll put this over 1. Feel free to use a calculator, but it is also nice to kind of set it up so that we could do this by hand. And we end up having 1 over 1, which is 1, plus 2, which is 3. So this point is 3, 3. And 3, 3 is that point there. So all of these checked out. Feel free to pause the video, rewind it, but if you're ready, we're going to move on to the second problem. Second problem, we notice that this one has a negative slope. So as we analyze this graph, we need to make sure that it would be best to draw the triangle under the line. Our rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's down 5. And it's right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which simplifies to -1. Our y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, which could also be found by going down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. Checks out that it is at 3 or 0,3. And that means that our equation is y equals -1x plus 3. It might be best to have this -1 there, even though technically you don't need it. It could just be -x plus 3, because when we plug these numbers in, it's important to remember we're, in a sense, multiplying by -1. So the first value they chose was -3. -1 times -3 is 3, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So -3, 6. Let's go to our graph and double check that this is on our graph. -3, 6 is this point. So it's already marked. So that checks out. Then we're going to plug in 0. -1 times 0 plus 3 is 0 plus 3, which is 3. 0, 3 is this point. So that one also checks out. We're looking that these points are on our blue line. And then we're plugging in 7. Y equals -1 times 7 plus 3. -1 times 7 is -7 plus 3 is -4. In 7, -4 is right there. So that one also checks out. All right, so we filled out our table. Remember, these x values are going to be random. Our equation down here is the equation that we've got up here. So we got to do that first. In M and B, we've been doing that for a while. Remember, B is actually the easier one. You might even find that first, even though in the video currently I found M first.